John, Andrew, great to see you guys. How you been?
Doing really well. Yourself?
Doing great. Andrew, how things out by you?
Excellent, Joe. Thanks for having us.
No, I appreciate you guys carving out some time. This is exciting stuff. So, John, your reputation is really well known out in the world of pen testing, hacking, et cetera. But I think a lot of MSPs out there who are beginning the cyber journey may not be familiar with you. So give us a little bit of background on you and your expertise.
You bet. I was an instructor for 15 years teaching computer security, specifically in the area of hacker and like all these different techniques that the bad people use. I like to think of it as Harry Potter defense against the dark arts, if you will. I also run a consulting firm and we do about 650 security assessments per year. One of the big things that we've been focusing on lately, and one of the reasons why, we all kind of got together and started talking and hashing this stuff out, is we've been doing a lot of outreach to the community and trying to train as many people to become better cyber defenders in whatever their role is, as an administrator, help desk analyst, whatever it is, so that they can be prepared for a lot of the attacks that unfortunately many organizations are facing today.
Got it. Okay. All right. Thanks. Thanks for the background there, John. Now, Andrew, from your vantage point, I think most people who are watching this are familiar with you, but for those who aren't familiar with you, just give us a little bit, a taste of what you've been up to out in the cyber world. And how long now? Is it more than a year that you've been working on these projects?
Yeah, almost 2 years, Joe. I've had the good fortune of helping, some awesome cyber vendors on their go-to-market strategies. I'm kind of like the intel inside. No one knows I'm doing in the background, which is really cool.
Well, I know.
I built some communities. The one that I really am proud of is the CyberCall. We have almost 3,800 MSP and MSSPs now in that community. And how this came together was coming out of the July 4th incident. Ryan Weeks, who has taken courses with John and has said best instructor he's ever had, said, we really need John on to talk about helping the MSPs identify good application security. So let's see if John would come on. I reached out to him and he was responsive and gracious, and he came right on the show, and that was the beginning of this whole journey.
Yeah, and the journey's about to journey's already exciting, but it's really, you guys are taking it to the next level. Just to provide our viewers some context. So you mentioned Ryan Weeks' name. He's the CISO over at Datto. For most folks in the MSP world and the data protection world, they're familiar with Ryan. So you guys get together, you begin to talk about where MSPs need to go at cyber, but this has shifted from a conversation about where MSPs need to go to actual rallying the entire MSP industry about where they need to go with cyber. John, give us an update there. What are you up to here?
So we started something kind of wild during COVID. The idea was we're just going to do intro level security training. Like we got intro SOC skills, which is core MSSP and MSP skills. Then we have an intro to security class. Then I have one that's cyber deception. And on a lark, I was like, let's just basically charge whatever people can pay, right? Just to see what happens. Well, it exploded. It actually took off in the security industry, and we had a bunch of people that reposted and went crazy on LinkedIn. I think we had 5,000 people the first time that we did it. And what we discovered is there's this huge problem in the industry, and I mean the IT industry as a whole, where we have so many people that want to get into security, but they can't, right? They don't have the training, they don't have the background, they don't have the certifications. And then we have like 1.5 million open jobs around the world. And all those jobs want people to have some experience, some training, some certifications. So we said, we can just solve this problem by doing a pay what you can training. You show up and you get world-class security training, and we got full hands-on labs, you get slides, you get the Discord channel where you can hang out with your friends afterwards, you can ask questions, you get access to a cyber range if you pay over $195, so you can basically continue to hone your skills. And it just exploded. And that's when we realized that, we can actually do some good here, where we can actually help organizations secure themselves against all of these malicious nation state and non-nation state attackers that are out there, ransomware gangs. Because here's the thing, a lot of the stuff to protect yourself against those attackers are really basic blocking and tackling type things. And that's what we focus on, training people on the blocking and tackling, learning how to work with a computer system in a security relevant context so they can better protect themselves, their companies, and their customers. And it's been going really fantastic. And then got hooked up with Andrew and There's a whole nother part of the IT universe that I knew nothing about that I'm learning more and more about. And one of the things I always say is people that you guys talk to all the time, they're the front lines. They're the people in the trenches. They're the people that are fighting this battle every single day. It's not necessarily just the security people in their gilded high towers, but it's so important we get down into the trenches and start training the foot soldiers so they can be effective in defending their networks.
Got it. Got it. Now I want to see if I understand this correctly. From my vantage point, now I could be wrong, you guys correct me. On the one hand, I think vendor-related cyber training is valuable, but that's one category of training. And then there's the sort of multi-day hands-on go-to courses, which is also valuable, but A, it's time out of office, and B, it can be pricey. It sounds like you guys are trying to or are about to find a way to rally the entire MSP industry with an affordable way to fill that gap between the vendor training and the multi-day out of office training in an affordable way for the MSPs to get their SOC analysts trained, maybe their employees trained, their MSPs trained, et cetera. That was a mouthful, but am I basically capturing the essence of what you're up to?
I think you nailed it, right? Because most MSPs, the only training they can afford to give their employees are vendor specific training. And like you said, if you're running something like Cylance, Carbon Black, Sentinel One, if you're using Palo Alto, any of those different products, knowing how to use your tool is really, really, really important. But in order to use that tool effectively, you've got to understand Windows components, command line. You've got to know what an actual attack looks like. You got to understand Linux. You got to understand TCP/IP networking. You've got to understand, how do I find a beacon in network traffic? How do I get a packet capture? How do I get these things? So these are core fundamentals that will make you better at using that vendor product because you'll have a better understanding of what that product is trying to share with you.
Okay. All right. So listen, I think there's two audiences here that I want to address. There's the MSP SOC analyst who's probably, salivating like, yeah, that's I'm interested in that. But then there's the what I would call the SMB MSP that is mostly focused on IT support that's getting into cyber. And they're like, wow, John just rattled off a long list. I'm a little afraid that I may be overwhelmed by this training. Is it digestible for them? And for folks like me, quite frankly, like I'm just dangerous enough to be rebooting and securing my PC daily rather than, sitting in a SOC all day. So tell us a little bit more about how you're going to appeal to the masses here.
So one of the things is I've taught for 15 years. So I've done a lot of teaching of rooms of about 100 people, 10, 15 times a year. So I have a lot of experience in this area. So that's number one. Number two, whenever you come into this class, we have a Discord channel set up and you can ask questions of the hundreds of other people that are there. What does this mean? And the students and the people, we have these people, we call them nerd herders.
Okay.
They're support people. They're there to answer the questions that people have. We don't allow people on our Discord channel to be like, well, RTFM, look it up, noob. That's a dump. That doesn't fly here. That's not the way that we're going to let this go. So you have me, I do this all the time. And then you have a whole support staff of people that are literally helping with tech support issues. They're going through and they're answering questions about different techniques, providing links to each other. So it's actually creating a community where people can come in long after the class is done and continue asking these types of questions. And for frame of reference, years ago, I had shoulder surgery. And my wife came to one of my conferences with me and she was helping me carry stuff while I was teaching and we hung out. It was at Disney World. It was great. My wife is a structural engineer and she sat through one of my classes, full 6 days, got to the last day, capture the flag. She came in about right in the middle and even she can understand what I'm talking about, coming from a completely different career path and a completely different career field. So don't be afraid. Show up, come hang out. And more important, ask questions, lots and lots of questions. We're going to get those questions answered. It's kind of like everything you wanted to know about hacking, but was afraid to ask, come hang out and we're going to answer those questions.
Okay. Yeah. And you mentioned show up, and I just want to clarify what showing up means. I'm looking at my notes here. This is what a 4-day, 4-hour session. So 16 hours total. Is this face-to-face? Is it virtual? Is it hybrid? What is it?
Great question. It's actually virtual. So whenever you come in, we use GoToWebinar, and if it gets too big, then we have overflow into YouTube. which is weird. We can actually break GoToWebinar, where GoToWebinar is like, nope, no, we can't run any more people. But that's rare. It doesn't happen all that often. So it's face to face. You see me, and I'm in studio or in my basement. I might be in my basement for the next session, and the Discord channel is set up so you can answer and ask questions and go back and forth with all these different people, and it's recorded. So that recording is important because people have lives, they have jobs, they have children. So this allows them to digest the content at their own pace, go back and re-review something. If they have to miss something, they don't have to worry. They can come back and they can re-watch it. The slides come with the class as well, of course. And then the labs are all built into a Windows virtual machine. We use Windows subsystem for Linux. So we got a Linux VM inside of the Windows VM. It's like a Russian nesting doll of operating systems with easy step-by-step copy and paste instructions to get you through the labs. So it really meets you on where you're at, and we're not locking you into a box. We're not saying the labs are only available for these 4 days. It's completely available to you in your pace, so you can come in and go through it.
Awesome. Okay. So final question. If I'm interested in this, within our blog associated with this video, we'll put a registration link or some sort of join link. But for people who check out that link, is this like a one-time thing that you're doing in August of 2021, or is it, running for a quarter, or is it forever? I mean, how do you see this rolling out? John, from your vantage point, and then Andrew, from your vantage point.
So I did it once a month, and it started burning me out. Like I said, I used to teach once a month. That's my jam. That's what I do. And I used to do 6 hours a day. There's a very big difference between teaching 100 people and teaching 3,000 to 5,000 people. There's something very, very, very draining about that. So we kind of spaced it out. So I do it every other month, and it's kind of a cycle. We start with these core SOC and MSP skills, and then we transition into core security skills. Believe it or not, that's a completely different set of things that we talk about. Password complexity, turning on firewalls, two-factor authentication, things like that. And then the final thing is kind of my pet project, but it's all about cyber deception and attribution of attackers. So it becomes this trilogy, and I reset it every single time. So we'll probably get through each of these classes anywhere between 2 to 4 times per year. So it's going to be continuous. We're going to be working on the cycle, and we constantly modify it, because I have students ask me all the time, they're like, hey, can you talk about this topic? We'll just go off-roading, and the next thing I know, I've written a whole bunch of slides on that topic, and we've added it into the course. So we have some people that take the class again and again and again just to get that new content, and that's okay too. That's perfectly fine.
Very cool. And then Andrew, from your vantage point, before I throw that question to you, I want to give our viewers a little more context on you, because you're pretty humble. For those who don't know it, during the early days of ConnectWise or Kaseya, Andrew was working the community before there was a community, and building the community. And he's got this knack of finding the right people at the right time in the right industry, and then things coalesce. And here you are doing it again, Andrew. So from your vantage point, you find John, you and Ryan Weeks have conversations with John. Is the journey forward, the vision you're rolling out, is exactly how you thought it would be when you started whiteboarding this, or how do you see it going forward?
Well, wow. First off, thank you for the kind words, Joe. We've known each other many, many years, and thank you for all your awesome work. As far as the vision, I'd say it's going better than expected. What would complete the vision is really seeing MSP after MSP register and put people through the course. With the CyberCall, my co-hosts are not only Ryan Weeks, but Wes Spencer, the CISO of Perch, and then Gary Pika. And so when we looked at the Core SOC Skills Course and looked at the agenda, we just kind of looked around, spoke to some MSPs, and we're like, this could easily be called the MSP Security Analyst Course. This is what your front desk help desk people need when getting a call and going, something weird is going on with my customer screen, right? These are skills that people don't have, but they're going to need, right? So we're thrilled to be doing it with John. And as you alluded to early in this conversation, Joe, MSPs, I moderate peer groups, right? And they tell us firsthand, Joe, that, hey, look, we can't afford to send our people out for lengthy time. This is literally built again for an MSP and their teams, where they can send multiple people. Heck, I've talked to MSPs that are sending 3 and 4 because of the core fundamentals of this and because of the price point. So, last thing I'll say is stay tuned. We have a CyberCall promo. It gives you special things that John has done for us. So there's going to be a lot of big announcements coming from this. But yeah, I'm very excited about what we're going to do to help the MSP community, Joe.
Yep. Yeah. And one closing thought that I'll share is one of the things that I really respect about John and getting to know him here is this open source mindset, this give back mindset. It's very similar to how the MSP industry grew, where MSPs were committed to helping each other, and Gary Peak and others have coached and just given back to the industry, right? Well, in John's case, you've got this pay what you can, which is different. There's a nuance in that word there versus pay what you want, which is not what we're talking about. We're talking about pay what you can, which means, hey, as an MSP, you probably have some budget that you can allocate to this. So pay what you can and go get your people educated. But certainly pay something at the door. Is that a good way to put it, John?
Yeah, I think that's the best way to put it, right? And when people look at it, I want you to know that you come in and you pay, you're helping that single mom that's got 2 jobs that wants to get into IT. And by the way, I don't know if Devi's listening, but she's someone that was that lady who got an opportunity to get into IT. Now she runs her own MSP. And we want to create a situation where these people, whether you're out washing dishes, whether you're driving trucks, and you have this fire inside that you love computers and you love taking things apart and you love knowing how it works, you're actually helping those people make that transition into doing something that they love to do. And they can genuinely and truly make the world a better place by actually doing their passion. And that is something that's key to me. And it's amazing. I've already had like 10, 15 students over the past few months that have come to me and said, look, this class was my on-road to getting into a SOC position. It was my on-road to getting into an MSP position. And now I'm in and I'm doing IT as a job. And, a few months ago, I was doing construction. That's awesome. And that's what we want. We want to create this opportunity. We want to tear down the gates for people coming into this. We want our MSPs to have trained staff. So when they go toe to toe against the Chinese and the Russians and their proxies and the Iranians, they're not going into this stuff blind.
Awesome points. John, thank you very much for walking us through this. Andrew, thank you for bringing us this story. We can't thank you enough.
Yeah, thank you, Joe.
I think I owe all of you like free beer and dinner for the rest of your lives. So anywhere I'm at, you guys never pay for anything. I really appreciate you guys helping amplify this.
Oh, no problem. And I've got that on video, so I may be playing that clip back to you for the rest of your life.
Yep.
All right, take care, guys.
All right.